people keep asking me if I'm back. And yeah, I think this time I'm back. Welcome back everybody, Matt and the Matt here, hope you're doing well. And today we got not John Wick 5, even though you might think it is. No, we got the spin-off movie Ballerina. Ballerina Barbie. She wanted Malibu Barbie. Adam's Family? Debbie? Anyway? No? Okay. Ballerina stars Ana De Armas as Eve. And, we were like, what? If you've seen John Wick Chapter 3, in the middle of the movie, John, our boy John, or as Winston says, Jonathan, goes sees Angelica Houston, and in there is this ballerina studio, or whole school, not a studio. I don't know why it's a studio. School, ballerina school, that trains young people, women, into assassins, while also the ballerina, Swan Lake. You hear a lot of that in this movie, the music from Swan Lake, from like Black Swan, And so if you saw that scene in Chapter 3, I remember seeing that 6 years ago and going, this whole school, this whole ballerina school, it'd be really cool if they did a spin-off and they made a movie on a ballerina from the school who becomes an assassin. I remember literally saying that back in 2019 when Chapter 3 came out. And what do you know? They made a movie about a ballerina who becomes an assassin at this ballerina school in the John Wick universe. He is a genius. I know. Just can't get a job in film, but he's a genius. Here we are, 6 years later, and we got Ballerina. And I'm going to say it, this was good. This was a solid action movie. This fits in the John Wick universe while also being its own thing. I think that's the thing I liked about this movie the most. It doesn't hit you over the head with, a reference to John Wick here, a reference to John Wick here. Oh, you remember that reference from Chapter 2? You remember that reference from Chapter 3? Or John Wick 1? No. I like that. I like how they kept this movie really its own thing. And really the funniest part about this movie is when you do get those John Wick moments, like when you see John Wick, those are the only moments that I can take you out of the movie. Weirdly enough. That even I felt like, I like one of, and then we got almost like pause. Oh, we need John Wick here. Oh, we need John Wick here. And yes, I love Keanu Reeves. I love him in this role. I mean, he is the Baba Yaga. Jonathan. But it was weird, like watching the movie, I'm going, you didn't need John Wick in this movie, but I know why you put him in here. Because for marketing reasons, people are going to see Keanu Reeves, John Wick, and be like, it's another John Wick movie. Let's get into the positives. Let's start out with the number one. Ana De Armas. Ana De Armas. If you told me 10 years later, from 10 years ago, when she was in the Eli Roth movie, Knock Knock, with who also starred in that movie? The Baba Yaga, Keanu Reeves. And you said in 10 years, this actress is going to become one of the biggest young actresses in Hollywood. Also, one of the hottest actresses in Hollywood. The hot part we got from that movie. I mean, the shower scene, yeah, we got it. But she was going to rise up in Hollywood. And even the funniest part is, she's not going to be rising like in the next 10 years. She's going to take her sweet little time to rise up in Hollywood. From being in supporting roles like in War Dogs in 2016 as being Miles Teller's wife, to playing the robot android in Blade Runner 2049 with Ryan Gosling, to being in, other small roles, and then in 2019 hitting it with Knives Out, and that whole the entire marketing. You would have never guessed that Ana De Armas was the main character in that movie until you saw the movie, and you're like, she's the main draw. She's the main character. And they never promoted her in the marketing of that. And then in 2021, we got when she showed up in the James Bond film, the final Daniel Craig movie, and she has one scene in that whole movie, and it's the best scene in that entire film. And we got to see her fight and do action, all her own stunts. She was lively and vibrant and fun, which, I mean, if I was a director, I would have been like, after I shot that scene, I would have been like, we need to put her in the whole rest of this movie. I know we've already shot most of it, but we need to reshoot it all and put her in the movie more. She is the best thing about that last James Bond movie. And even then I said, if the James Bond franchise does not do something with her moving forward, she needs to get into another action genre fast. And what do you know, people? Just a couple months after the James Bond movie came out, Lionsgate, the producers of John Wick, are looking at Ana De Armas for a John Wick spinoff, The Ballerina. There are smart people in Hollywood. She is great in this movie. She handles the action. And I love about this character and the way they wrote her, and also just looking at Ana De Armas' physical ability. Once again, this is not a tall girl. This is not a muscular girl. She packed on some muscle. But what I love, and when we see her in this movie, she's not a seasoned assassin. She's not John Wick, who's been doing it for years and years and years. And was in retirement, then he came out of retirement because of a fucking dog. A puppy. The puppy that lost his way. You killed his puppy that his dead wife gave him? Oh, I love that moment in John Wick 1. Oh. This is not like that. This is a young girl who gets into the school and is learning to be a ballerina, and then gets into the assassin program, and then she starts going on missions. But she is still brand new. This is like Batman Begins for the ballerina. Ballerina Begins. Eve Begins. And I loved how they used that in the movie where when she's going up against these people at the beginning, she's having a hard time. They're throwing her around. They're beating the shit out of her. I mean, they are just, it's like a rag doll. And it's like, well, yeah, she is not a trained, professional, seasoned assassin. So, I love that. I love how, especially in this day in Hollywood where all women have to be like the best of the best when they had no training or anything. It's like, excuse me, how are they meeting the seasoned character when they've just started? Star Wars, anybody? She-Hulk, anybody? Some of the Marvel movies recently. Anyway, and I'm like, and I love how she is not that way. But also in Ana De Armas, she's an Academy Award nominated actress for the Marilyn Monroe movie a couple years ago. And she's also able to bring that, more heavy lifting in the acting department in the serious moments, in the emotional moments. So you really get a very well-rounded character who can also do the stunts. Now I'm not saying she's doing all her own stunts. I'm not saying that. Keanu Reeves doesn't do all his own stunts. He does most of them, especially at his age. But and we see in behind the scenes video of her doing her own stunts. And you just get the stunt and you go, I want to see more of her. The action, the action, the action. You go see these movies for the action. Yes, we want some sort of plot. We want some character moments. But, you watch the first 4 John Wick movies. Yeah, they build out the world of John Wick. But the actual character development is very, very, very small. The first 10 minutes of the first movie is all the character development you get. Guy loses his wife, cancer, he's lonely, he's retired, his wife sends him a puppy dies, comes out of retirement, goes on a revenge spree, there we go. And he never can get out of it. That's the whole character development of John Wick. And however many hours now of 4 movies we're in. And at least, and going back to the action, this movie spares no expense. I wouldn't even argue with anybody that the blood and the violence and the gore is more bloody in this movie than in any of the other John Wick movies. There are moments where a grenade, boom, and the entire body explodes everywhere. Blood everywhere. And it's all in one shot. And you go, oh my God. And then there's the flamethrower scene that you see in the trailer. There's so much more of that. Awesome. The restaurant scene, you'll know it when you see it, is by far the best action I've seen all year so far. That entire action sequence, perfection. Then there's the ice club scene in the beginning of the movie. She goes to this club, and the action's great in there. And then I love this other scene where there's a wonderful moment of, I wouldn't say show, don't tell, but the aftermath of something she does, and she is just going through each room as she's leaving this building, and you see all the bodies, all over, everywhere, like in room to room to room, that she's killed. Once again, we don't see it happen, but we just see the aftermath, and you're just like, oh my God. She was wrecking fools. Building the lore, once again, every John Wick movie, they build out the lore. Every movie adds something new to the overall John Wick world, and here is no different. I won't go into what it is, but it expands even more on the world of John Wick. And I gotta give it to the director. Now, a lot of people know that this movie was supposed to come out last summer, but they delayed it because they wanted to go back and reshoot stuff, which does happen. It does happen in most movies, especially the big blockbuster films. And Len Wiseman was the original director. Now, once again, I don't know personally how much they reshot, because in all honesty, when you watch the movie, you can't tell. I'll get to maybe where you can tell. But in terms of the action, you can't tell. And what I like is, like I say, you can watch the first half of this movie, and the action might not be as crisp as what we know from the John Wick franchise. But once again, I say to myself, that could have been a more character reason. This is a new female character that it isn't a seasoned character. So the action might not be as fluid, as smooth as watching John Wick, because he's more of a seasoned assassin. But as the movie goes along and she gets better and better and better, the action does become more of what we see in the John Wick movies. But that doesn't mean what we see in the first half isn't bad, it's good. So that's what I'm saying. Is it a director thing where we got Len Wiseman coming in here, and then they brought in Chad Stahelski, who directed all 4 of the other John Wick movies, to do the reshoots? We don't know what the reshoots were. For all we know, the reshoots could have been just adding character moments. But going back to Len Wiseman, I like this director. He is an action director. He did the first 2 Underworld movies with Kate Beckinsale. I enjoyed those movies. He did, to me, the second best Die Hard movie, Live Free or Die Hard, the 4th one, with Justin Long, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Timothy Oliphant as the villain. That came out in 2007. The Total Recall remake with Colin Farrell, Kate Beckinsale, Jessica Biel, Bill Nye, and Bryan Cranston in 2012. He's a good action director. So when they said they brought in Len Wiseman, I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, really good. And I think the action scenes are popping. You go see these movies for the action. And they're great. They're very violent. This movie is violent, more violent than the other John Wicks, in my opinion. This movie feels like its own film. Yes, you see Ian McShane, Winston show up in 1 or 2 scenes. We see the late, great Lance Reddick show up in 1 or 2 moments. And of course we have Keanu Reeves in here in a couple scenes. Angelica Houston returns from the 3rd one as the ballet school, instructor, manager. She has a lot more screen time in this movie than in Chapter 3. But once again, they're not hitting you over the head with it. They come in, they do their scene, that's it. This really is its own film. And I like that. It works. The soundtrack, I like the soundtrack. I would have never thought that in a John Wick movie, we would get Evanescence having a new song. Evanescence was way popular back in the mid-2000s when I was a young boy. Preferably Daredevil, the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, where they, Bring Me to Life, or My Immortal. Yeah. So Evanescence has a song here. There's another song in here during the training where she's a ballerina. Great soundtrack, I thought, for this movie. Negatives with this movie. Then the score. I'm not talking about the soundtrack, I'm talking about the score. The score, when you watch a John Wick movie, that score is its own character. I mean, there's no way the theme of John Wick, or certain things like the Ballerina school, where they have that hard-hitting music playing, or when he goes into the club, like the first movie, and that pumping. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to even do it here. But in the John Wick movies, the music is a whole character in itself. And I feel like this was kind of missing that. Like even the music that was playing during the ballerina scene in the John Wick Chapter 3, when we're in the ballerina scenes in this movie, I was expecting that music to be front and center, and it wasn't. And just overall, like in the fight scene and the club scenes, I expected that John Wick music loud and just boom. You know what I mean? And I thought this one didn't push it to make it its own character in a way. This is going to be a strange one. Keanu Reeves. Why does he have Keanu Reeves in the negative? The Mama Yang is coming for you now. It's not that Keanu Reeves is the problem. The problem is, this is where I think they went back and did reshoots, because I think they realized, wait a minute, this is a John Wick related movie in the John Wick universe, and we're not going to have John Wick at all? What's that mean for thinking? I'm Jar Jar now. It almost felt like they're like, wait a minute, we don't have Keanu Reeves in this movie. Yes, it happens between John Wick 3 and John Wick 4, but we're not going to have Keanu Reeves at all? It's like he's going to the ballerina school, and in the third one, he goes to the ballerina school. And that's where I thought, you didn't need Keanu Reeves. You sold it. That's how you wanted to sell the movie. Oh, look, the Baba Yaga is back. But number one, he's not in the movie that much. He has about 3-4 scenes, and one of them an action scene. But if you're going into this movie for the Baba Yaga, you're Mama out of luck. And like I said, every time we do see him, I feel like the movie almost pauses. Like, here we go, we're doing Mama Yaga time. Okay. Up, Mama Yaga time. Up, Mama Yaga time. And it's like, no more Mama Yaga. Put the Mama Yaga down. Put the cookie down. Put the Mama Yaga down. We'll wait for chapter 5. Also, because of Keanu Reeves being in this movie, and this movie taking place between chapter 3 and chapter 4, I go, so when did he come back for this movie? I mean, in the story, not Keanu Reeves. We know he's an actor. When did he come back in the story timeline to be involved in this? Because we see him in chapter 3, he goes to the ballerina school, he meets with Angelica Houston, he gets burned in the back, tattoo. Then we see him then he leaves and goes to Casablanca, meets them with Halle Berry and her German shepherds. Then after that whole sequence, he goes to the desert and gets his finger chopped off. Awesome. And then he goes back to New York, to the Continental, for the entire third act of chapter 3. So, when does he go back to the ballerina school? Because this is between chapter 3 and chapter 4. And at the end of chapter 3, he's all fucked up. He got shot and fell off a building. He should have been dead. So, not to mention we know in chapter 3, Angelica Houston gets a knife through both of her hands. So when we see Angelica Houston later on in the film, I'm like, where's the giant, hole of the knife, sword that went through both her hands? I don't see it. So that's why I'm like, when does this movie take place? In the story timeline, not chapter 3, chapter 4, but overall. You have a ballerina. She's a ballerina, right? But she's also an assassin. I thought maybe they would incorporate some ballerina moves in the action, in the fight scenes. I don't know. I thought that would be interesting for her character to be like, oh, cool, she does her own, the way she fights is different than John Wick. But it also, I thought, you could have incorporated some ballerina moves in the fighting choreography too. I think that would have been interesting. It would have made her own unique character and her own unique fighting style, if you will. So I would easily give this like a 4.4 out of 5. I think it's a very good movie on its own. In the world of John Wick, it works. It has its own distinct feel to it. And like I said, I would love to see Len Wiseman come back and direct another one, or whatever. But let me know, did you see Ballerina? Have you gone to the ballerina school for all ballerinas? Let me know in the comments below. Are you a fan of the movie? Are you a fan of the John Wick franchise? Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments below, ballerina or no ballerina for you.